the criticism of the group stages of the Champions League is often, sure, we know what's going to happen and we know where certain teams are going to finish, and it only essentially livens up until we get to the knockout phase. Thankfully, Spurs and Manchester City did a job for us that we actually have something to talk about this week on that front.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't be pleased about it.
No, neither one of them. But we are, John.
Yeah, well,
that's the important thing.
It gives us something to talk about rather than a routine win, as they say.
We'll start with Spurs because listen, we have to put this in context. They were 4 minutes away from what would have been a fairly decent victory.
Yes.
But unfortunately for them, events conspired against them. A fantastic goal from Mauro Icardi from the edge of the box and from what may have been an intentional cross and what mightn't have been. But then I suppose you'd have to blame them defending-wise for that winner for Inter, which they didn't deal with at all from the set piece again, and Inter were able to walk away with all 3 points. And then we had the meltdown by Mauricio Pochettino in the press conference afterwards. Not necessarily a good night.
We had it beforehand, Richie, with Pochettino talking about the cows or whatever. Nobody knew what he said. They said it was a Cantona moment. Nobody knew what he was actually talking about. And what he was talking about after the match was, people asked him why was Alderweireld and Trippier left at home.
Yeah.
And he didn't answer that either. He went in, look, we have to respect the players that are here. And that. I think he's under severe pressure, Pochettino.
From whom?
I'd say, well, first of all, from the supporters, because they're the ones that will be less than happy. I think he's backed the CEO, Levy, to the hilt. Because if you go back to the end of the season, Pochettino was very, very critical, actually, of the CEO by saying that, you know, he's got to put his hand in his pocket, he's got to be brave, he's got to be doing this, that and the other. And in the meantime, he signed his own contract, I think, which was a lucrative contract. But then at the end of the season, he said to the press guys, I think you got it all wrong. I didn't mean he had to be brave by buying players. I meant he'd be brave by not buying players. So there was a big turnaround there. And like, they have a small squad, there's no that in relation to what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And
I've kind of seen that in the last 2 weeks or so when it's not necessarily the players are playing badly, but clearly there's people like Harry Kane who need a rest. They have to do with their Heung-min Son for the first couple of games of the season. When they need to change things, they don't necessarily have players of the same calibre to come in and take those places.
Well, it also, I think it affects the morale as well of the team. I mean, there's nothing better than, say, when Liverpool were on top, I remember Graham Souness talking about it, and with Dalglish and Hansen, all these great players, they win the league and they sign at least 2 top players, because it gives you that drive again to do it. Now in Spurs' case, they haven't won anything and they haven't bought anybody. Now there's Kane, and as soon as they get a few inch, which all teams do, it's very difficult to do it. I mean, if you look at Guardiola, it's a big squad last year, he adds to the squad. First of all, it gives the players who are there a bit more drive to stay in the team and say, here we go again, we've actually improved this team. Whereas if you don't do that and do what Spurs did, you know, see, they didn't win anything. They were wherever they were, third or fourth in the league last year. Then the players said, well, why should we do any better this year? Now, I'm not saying they consciously say that about the manager, but I don't think things are right there. I think there would be a lot of, what would I say, speculation in the dressing room. You know, Pochettino signed a new contract, he's got a lucrative contract, and we all know that the wage structure at Spurs is not great. There's a couple of players, and I think what kept Spurs going was that Pochettino was one of the lads and they liked him. They actually liked him. Now, I think they wouldn't be so sure. I think he's looked after himself. There's no doubt about that. And good luck to him getting a new contract. But a few players haven't added to the squad. I know they have problems with the stadium and all that, but there's nothing better than you know, winning the league or doing well and adding a couple of players to it. First of all, you need a big squad, very big squad now, which they don't have, despite what he says. And I think the comments he's been making, the way he's responded to the press in the last few days, sounds like a lad to me, or a manager to me, that's really under pressure. This was a bad loss for them. They should have won the game, Richie, there's no doubt about it. They should have won the game, but the fact is they didn't. Because again, you know, they didn't defend very well. As you say, a set piece, they lost the goal again from a set piece, and this is not the way that we expect Spurs to do it. I
mean, ultimately, the point for them is that they've now lost 3 in the spin in all competitions.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put down, there's almost an element of forgiveness, let's say, with Spurs, because it comes back to that old adage, the one that was in the Manchester United dressing room going, lads, it's Tottenham. Yeah. You kind of figure that there is going to be a flub here and there. But for the fact that they've lost 2 Premier League games already this season, they've started off the Champions League with a loss.
Can I just interrupt there? Pochettino's been there for 3 or 4 years now, right? That was supposed to stop That's Spurs. But it's not. It's not. But it's supposed to have stopped because of him.
But even in years where they've finished second, and even in years where they've finished in the top four and finished above Arsenal, which is always a big bugbear for them, they don't seem to be able to kick on. There doesn't seem to be an impetus from at least the board for them to kick on. And I know the stadium is a massive albatross for them, but you have to, at some level, start investing and start to build to the next phase.
Well, they used to invest at one stage, but unfortunately, I don't think the manager was investing the money. The chairman had all the say in it. Now, I think a couple of years ago, to be fair to the chairman, I think he believed in Pochettino and gave Pochettino his say. Now, as it happens, there is no transfer at the moment. But I think the players that they did have in, Pochettino picked them, which was a big difference. When Harry Redknapp was there, Harry didn't have that. He didn't have that power to buy the players. I mean, that's I think one of the reasons he's left. But Pochettino, I think the first year he did, but he got the stage where I think Levy believed in him and let him do it. That's been the big difference in the last couple of years, that people actually expect Spurs to do it. It's not like, oh, it's the old Spurs like Ferguson used to say. I think there's a different approach to them now. Now, that could be going back again to the way it was, because they haven't produced it well. They haven't brought the players in. It's impossible to do what's needed to be done with the squad that they have at the moment.
Well, with that in mind, can you see the logic, or is there any logic in what Pochettino did this week in leaving two senior players like Kieran Trippier and Toby Alderweireld at home? Not necessarily leaving them on the bench for a game, leaving them at home. That doesn't seem to make much sense to me. I don't know about you.
It didn't make sense. When he was asked to explain it, it didn't make any sense.
Well, he was clearly on the back foot and being defensive about it.
Yeah, but you have to be able to deal with the press in that particular way. I think he's under severe pressure at the moment. He sounds like a lad to me, or a manager to me, that's under severe pressure, because nobody would know better than himself that this is not right. They have the problems with the stadium, but in his case, he's having a problem with the team. The team is not performance. He doesn't have any real backup in it. He doesn't have a big squad. He doesn't have a squad that's big enough to do what's needed to be done. So he's and the expectation is high on him, Richie, as we know. Like people say, well, you haven't won anything yet, and I think he's done well in many ways with the resources that he has. But I don't think they're going to win anything this year. And again, if it goes the way it's going, like after 2 or 3 weeks, they won't even be in the running. So then the supporters get very anxious and impatient with him. So he's a man that's under pressure. But I must say, the other night, they should have had the game won, but they should be able to see the game out. And it's the second or third match in succession that they lost the goal from a set piece. Yeah. So things are not good there. There's definitely, well, everybody knows that. That goes without saying. But things are not good there.
Does the stadium have any part to play in this? Because obviously we've mentioned the impact that's had financially on whether or not they're able to sign players, and building a new stadium is huge. The outlay involved is absolutely massive. We saw that with Arsenal. The fact that there's an uncertainty over when they're actually going to get in there, a person knows if a person doesn't have any surety about their home, they're kind of in dire straits. If a club, albeit they might be playing at Wembley and they have a nice rent of a place, is playing somewhere else, I'm not sure when their home games are going to be actually at home.
Well, let's put it this way, Richie. It doesn't do any good. Because they talk about, the spirit in the dressing room. Spirit in the dressing room in Ramadan is very fragile. Something can knock it off. Something like that can certainly not doing any good. First of all, they haven't signed anybody. So I think it's the first time in the history of the Premier League that a team hasn't signed a new player during the season. So the players will know, right, we haven't got the money to do it, right? That's what they would have done. And it needs to be strengthened, there's no doubt about that. Then you've got the ground coming on top of it. Now they have to go back to Wembley. All those things. What you need in the morale in the dressing room is everything steady, everything right, the stadium built, a couple of players new in to strengthen the squad and things like that. That gives the morale. Everything is right. Everything is not right with Spurs at the moment. And it shows in the dressing room, it shows with the players. You can't define spirit in the dressing room or morale in the dressing room, but the slightest thing can knock it off.